Alright. Our topic is hiring process and the future ethical behavior. It's for my groups are me, Rachel, and Frank. Next slide. Okay, thank you. The ethical behavior during the recruitment process is critical to both the integrity of the recruiting companies and the well-being of job seekers. The recruitment industry often faces challenges related to unethical practices, such as sharing confidential information without consent, charging candidates for placement services and posting misleading job advertisements. These practices not only harm the interests of job seekers but also the reputation of staffing agencies and organizations. Ethical recruitments includes being honest and treating all candidates fairly, maintaining confidentiality, and ensuring that job advertisements and interviews are conducted transparently and accurately. This approach is critical to instilling trust and ensuring that the recruitment process has a positive impact on both candidates and recruiting companies. Uh, Next slide. So next one, we're talking about during the interview process, can the hiring manager predict if an individual will perform ethically. Uh, Predicting a person's future ethical behavior during a job interview is difficult, but not impossible. Uh, Perti- uh, Patricia Hearn, president of the Ethics Research Center, says behavioral questions are key to uncovering a candidate's ethical compass. Questions that ask candidates to describe past ethical challenges and how they handled them can provide insights into their decision-making process and ethical perspective. Additionally, questions about a candidate's understanding of ethical concepts and their experience with a company's code of conduct can help access their alignment with the company's values. Hiring managers can gain a better understanding of candidates' moral compass, moral compass, and make more accurate predictions about their future conduct um, conduct conducted by the concentrated conduct and by concentrating on previous behavior and ethical challenges, even if no approach is accurate. Thank you. Next.
So next, what we're going to be discussing is what current and ethical tools could a hiring manager use to predict said future behavior. There is current tools that are out there that they tend to put into place. One of them being performance reviews and employee engagement surveys. This isn't just used for new hirees, but also people who are currently in the workforce. It helps employers make strategic, evidence-based decisions about the future while time goes on. Then another helpful tool to use is predictive analytics using past and present data. Effectively engaging in predictive analytics using the past and present data helps foretell future events, helps organizations make hiring decisions. It's recommended that considering qualities such as adaptability, creativity, and interest in learning could signal that a prospective employee or an existing one would be able to thrive in a changing environment. So everybody knows when you're in work, things are always changing. Certain situations are coming up, some in which we'll be having to make ethical decisions. So this just allows the employers to kind of get foresight into how that person would be acting when a situation comes up. One of the most popular tools that hiring managers use is past performance of the employee to determine their future behavior. There's a very popular tool called the behavioral interview that usually goes into effect. It's used by hiring managers to identify patterns of behavior. And in this case, what they do is they ask candidates to answer questions that would provide them to give specific examples on what they would do in a situation. So hiring managers can use this to evaluate responses to determine how the candidate will likely react in situations based on the examples of past performance. Moving forward, there is a system that's actually in place called the predictive hiring system. And it's a tool to use to determine future job performance and predict the skills and the behavior within that job. It also helps reduce bias in the hiring process because the technology analyzes quantifiable assessment data, like the scores of a skills aptitude test or answers during a structured interview. Certain assessments or assignments that are under the predictive hiring system, one is work samples and role play assignments. Kind of like what they said earlier, this would simulate a real world job task. It's most effective to the predictor, so they can kind of see what it is that they would do in certain real life situations when they come up. The next one is a cognitive assessment. So this would measure the numerical problem solving, language, abstract skills, and the attention to detail. So as you can see, the cognitive would kind of also play into their role play assignments because it's basically what the person would be thinking, how they would act when it comes to an ethical decision. And then the last type of assessment is a numerical assessment. This assesses the numerical computation, the estimation, the reasoning, and the data interpretation of the skills. So this is used to effectively test practical skills in the workplace. And then another interesting tool that I feel would be important to touch on, which is going to be in the next slide, is the ethical use of AI within hiring. So as we all know, AI has become a very prominent tool in today's day and age. So one of the main areas of application for organizational AI is actually recruitment, whether it be staffing, hiring, employee selection, etc. It does allow recruiters to save time sorting through resumes and making inferences about a candidate's talent and potential. As you know, jobs usually get hundreds of applications depending on the job that people are applying for. Not everybody has the time to go through all these applications, so a lot of hiring managers are using AI to help sift through and pick out the best candidates for the job. The last few years have seen proliferation guidelines and frameworks to help organizations make ethical use of AI within hiring and staffing decisions. Emerging academic research suggests that AI can increase an organization's efforts to accurately predict employee job performance and select the right person for the right role, as well as increasing fairness, transparency, and consistency. And within this, it focuses on three main factors of it. So essentially, AI can actually benefit the candidate themselves. It sources for talent outside the usual pools and the ability to examine relevant signals of talent while ignoring irrelevant indicators. So this is where they kind of hit on the factor of, using discrimination for an employee, things like that. It kind of takes away those factors and really looks at what their ability is for the job. The next factor is explainability. As a general rule, explainable AI models are more ethical than black box models. AI is able to predict and explain causation, not just correlation. And then the last but not least one is feedback. Feedback should always be considered a critical ingredient to any ethical use of AI for hiring. So let's say somebody isn't qualified for the job or doesn't get the job over somebody else. The AI can actually provide feedback to the candidate on why they weren't a good fit for the job, and it provides the analysis much quicker and easier, so that way they know how to improve when they're applying to other jobs. Obviously, AI is still a public concern, and distrusting it within the hiring process, nobody really knows how accurate it could be, although hiring managers are using it at a very high percentage right now. But it is important to remember that only the humans who actually deploy the AI are the ones that can be deemed ethical. It is still up to them to make the decision.
So lastly, we talked about if behavior can be modified after their employment, if it's found that they're unethical. So Firstly, the promotion and integration of ethical behavior is extremely important for the success of any organization. It comes from a variety of sources, including the Code of Ethics and other guidelines that should be readily available for all employees to review at any time. If these are available for new employees to review, and when a dilemma arises, they're able to quickly and accurately choose the correct course of action. And then also, if they choose the incorrect course of action, but the correct course of action are known, it makes retribution or consequences of those actions more grounded and more concrete. Another thing that's very important is reflection on an individual level, as it encourages the employee changing their behavior if it is deemed incorrect or immoral. Personal reflection is important because it's a big part of continuous improvement for the entire company, especially when it comes to ethical behavior. This will take time. It takes time to learn how to do and perfect, but it is the most important aspect of changing unethical behavior. Giving back to the community is also a vital part of the main goals of any successful HCO. It can come in a variety of forms, including community service, prevention programs, or donating to local causes. When the employee gives back to the community, it also often encourages ethical behavior, as it emphasizes acting in the best interest of the patient and the larger group that need the most help. If an employee is suspected of unethical behavior upon hiring, it is important to install the ethics of the HCO at orientation or at onboarding training. This should likely be done by the supervisor or human resources, and human resources would have a huge part in the ethical practices of the HCO, as they're the ones often receiving complaints from those who are believed to be acting unethically. Monthly training also allows all employees to continuously be aware of the ethical standings of the HCO. If an employee has never received this training or on this level before, then this would be their first introduction to the ethical standards of the company. This introduction will shape their point of view on ethical behavior, effectively changing and shaping their responses to ethical issues that may come up during their employment. A clear reporting system is the last and arguably most important when it comes to ethics violations, as it makes the administration aware of all liabilities that may be occurring on their watch. This allows the company to solve an issue as soon as possible and address the employee with opportunities to improve or consequences that should also be clearly outlined. Furthermore, the reporting system should be free of retribution on the side of the whistleblower, as all employees need to know that administration will not punish those who have the ethical high ground in mind for their patients and the entire organization. Thank you guys for listening. And here are our citations.